But as a high, we'll see rain chances increase to 40% on Saturday and Sunday. Looking ahead, cooler next week with highs in the 80s. Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Come on, hit it. Do it. You know you want to.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Welcome in, everybody. Sports Talk here on a very busy Wednesday night across the state of South Carolina. We welcome you in from wherever you have been. You are about to enjoy the best 2 hours of your day, no question about it. Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel all together, coming off a busy baseball Tuesday night. Man, what a turn of events with the way Coastal Carolina pummeled Clemson last night, and South Carolina pummeled and humbled. South Carolina humbled by Charlotte, and the Gamecocks close out their home season with 12 losses, 21 wins, 12 losses at home. I looked this up. The Gamecocks are 73 in the RPI if you use the D1 baseball version of the RPI. Those 12 home losses, Chris, Pat, those 12 home losses, the most of any team in the top 75 of the RPI.
Wow.
And, of course, now the Wolves are definitely out for Mark Kingston. Those who are howling for a change at South Carolina, we'll discuss that. It's to me, again, it's kind of like the Frank Martin situation. It's a tough call because he's done some good things. This year has not been a good year for South Carolina. Hasn't been a good year for Clemson, really, at this point. It's hard to figure out Clemson with that 23 RPI after last night's loss, being at 23, just considering how this team can be so bad, can look so bad at times, and just take some really one-sided whippings like the two they took at the hands of Coastal Carolina this year. I mean, Coastal Carolina ended up beating Clemson twice this season by a combined score of, 33-6?
33-9.
33-9.
First time, and I mentioned this last night, first time in program history that Coastal has won back-to-back games over Clemson, and last night's contest was like the 58th in the series. And Gary Gilmore talked about it in the post-game meeting we had with him, and kind of deflected, as he is really, really good about doing. He'll never allow you to heap any praise on him despite everything he's accomplished in his baseball career. But he was more interested in talking about how Clemson surprises him from the standpoint of how you look at his, as he pointed out, you look at their baseball team and see what they have and what they've done non-conference wise. And it's almost a head scratcher as to why they've struggled so much in the ACC. Found a really interesting stat that Brian Hennessy had in their game notes last night, Phil. Even though they're 10-14, what is their ACC record? Somewhere in that neighborhood of all their games in ACC play, they've only been outscored like 3 runs total.
So they're losing close games.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you know what, in baseball?
Doesn't matter, does it?
No, you can lose by 1, you can lose by 10. It's still a loss. And, yeah, Gary Gilmore being gracious as he always is. As he pointed out, it was last week that they got humbled by Wilmington, I think it was. Was it Greensboro? Wilmington, I think.
Greensboro,
okay. Somebody beat them badly. And so, that's the way it goes with baseball. But not this time around for his team, and they are churning towards a very strong finish with one more weekend series to go at home this weekend. I think it's South Alabama for them this weekend.
That is correct.
Yeah. So Clemson now getting ready for Boston College, who got hammered last night, and the Tigers, they should be in good shape for the ACC tournament, considering that Duke is their only concern, and Duke is going to be playing at Virginia Tech, which is very high in the RPI, very good year for Virginia Tech, and the Tigers can either win their way into the tournament or back their way into the tournament. just like South Carolina, the Gamecocks, all they need to do is beat Florida once or have Mississippi State lose once this weekend to be in the tournament. And Mississippi State's playing, I think, Tennessee this weekend. So, chances of that happening are very, very good. So it looks like they're both going to make it to their respective league tournaments, but that certainly is not where we think these programs should be and need to be. All right. They should be in better places. They need to be in better places. And, if Clemson doesn't make the NCAA tournament this year, this will be 2 straight years for them not making the tournament. If South Carolina doesn't make the tournament, well, they made it last year. So Mark Kingston can point to that. He can point to a super regional appearance in his first season. Those are the 2 high water marks for him that he can point to, and I'm sure that he will. And if you're Ray Tanner, you have to look at all the factors, what he's done, what he hasn't done, what his payout is, because that right now would be like $2 million, I think, to buy off his rest of his contract at this point. If they wait until, from what I read today, if they wait until July, it goes down a little bit. But is that something Ray Tanner really wants to do? And think about this. I mean, if South Carolina were to make a change, how many schools within a period of less than 2 years change their 3 major head coaches: football, basketball, men's basketball, and baseball? And that would be what South Carolina would be doing if they were to make that move. Me personally, I've said it once, I'll say it again. In the case of Mark Kingston, I don't know the internal relationship between Kingston and Tanner. Is it good? Are they close? Do they communicate? Do they like each other? I don't know the feelings inside the locker room. Do the players like him? Do they play hard for him? It certainly looks like they haven't quit on him. Certainly looks like they play hard. Um, Things like that, I think, have to be taken into consideration when you evaluate this team, and do take into consideration. I think you have to take into consideration, if you're fair-minded, that this is not the team, at least from a pitching standpoint, that he had expected to roll out onto the field when they were in fall camp and looking ahead to February, because of the injuries that were sustained on this pitching staff, either prior to the season or once the season began. Uh, should you give a coach a little bit of a break because of things that he cannot control? Now, you might not like the things that he does control. What would that be? Fundamentals, coaching style, lineups, decision making with the rotation, and things like that. He cannot control injuries, and South Carolina's had more than their share of injuries this season. And do you really want to go through another rebuild? You don't want to find yourself, say, like Tennessee was, as they went from coach to coach to coach until they finally hit on somebody about, 4 coaches removed from the original guy that they fired many years ago. Just citing them as an example. And the same thing with Clemson. I know that, we'll see what Clemson ends up doing this year. They might be able to work their way into the NCAA tournament. That the last projections that came out today by I think it was Baseball America had Clemson as the last team in the field. So,
Wow.
but and you look at, I'm sure they're assuming, you can't assume in baseball, but they're probably assuming that they're going to sweep Boston College, then go to the ACC tournament, maybe win a game or 2, and make their record look a heck of a lot better than it is right now, and still make it into the tournament. So that were to be the case, you wouldn't be having this conversation. They would be going on the road, of course. They would not be hosting, but we wouldn't be having this conversation with Monty Lee. But Clemson should not be missing the NCAA baseball tournament, and neither should South Carolina, to be quite honest with you. I think these are the 2 sports that you can point to at these schools, with the facilities and the fan support and what they put into these programs, that should be in the NCAA tournament. The expectation should at the very least be to be in the tournament every year. Not necessarily host every year, not necessarily get to a regional or to Omaha, but being in the tournament should be a given.
Everything you just said is totally accurate, and I believe Clemson will go to the NCAA tournament because I can't see them being swept by Boston College and being left out of the ACC tournament. I mean, BC is just a really bad team, and if that does happen, Clemson doesn't belong in the postseason. If they can't take 2 out of 3, if not all 3 at home against BC. But you mentioned fan support, Phil, and playing devil's advocate on the other side of the coin, and you know it as well as I do. Gamecock fans are not happy, and they hold that baseball program in different regard than, say, men's basketball. I think they would be more patient and have been more patient with Frank Martin than they've ever been with Mark Kingston. And if Kingston is retained and comes back, and I'm not saying he shouldn't be, but if he is retained, I don't know if you're Ray Tanner or USC, how you tell your fan base after what they've seen this year that it's going to be better next season, even with the injuries they've had to deal with on the pitching staff.
Well, I think the one thing you point to is who is coming back. Now, we don't know yet what's going to happen with the transfers. That's an issue that has to be dealt with after every season. But the Gamecocks, if these guys do come back, they would return their catcher. They would return their shortstop. They would, I think Seitler plans on coming back, so they would return an outfielder there. I'm just going off the top of my head. Pitching wise, Sanders is eligible and scheduled to return. I think the bulk of their pitching, they're the ones who are the major contributors. Becker comes back. All those freshmen are, of course, eligible to come back. So now, are they going to get better? I mean, Aiden Hunter didn't have it last night. He got knocked around when he took over for Becker. Becker was outstanding. Becker left with a shutout, and then the folks he brought in after him didn't get the job done. Gave up an 8-run inning. Otherwise, their pitching was really good. Carson Horning comes back. He showed some flash this year, and let's see here. They'll lose Eister, I'm sure. Burgess, the catch, will be back. Evan Stone should be back. Talmadge Gray, who they like a lot, should be back. Wimmer, he's probably going to be lost. Vasquez could come back. So, excuse me. Pitching wise, you're talking about Eli Jones coming back. You're talking about Becker. Probably Brett Thomas would be back. I would imagine Cade Austin, Aiden Hunter.
Will Sanders, unless he's a draft eligible,
no, he's not.
Junior.
He is not.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not.
He would be back. Now they'll lose Noah Hall, who is a junior.
Noah Hall. Noah Hall is he draft eligible? Is he one that's draft eligible?
So yeah.
So and as well as he's pitched here of late,
exactly.
He may have pitched himself into the professional leagues, but there's enough slated to come back to give you some reason for excitement. And another good recruiting class coming in too. So, based on what the recruiting networks are saying. So I don't know. I mean, I understand people are really down on Kingston. He doesn't have that kind of public persona where he's kind of he's kind of cold on the outside. He's not bubbly. He doesn't laugh a whole lot. I don't know how he is with the fans when he mingles with them. Maybe he's a great guy. I'm not around, but just, he's very matter of fact, to the point, kind of blunt. Very much like a guy who leans a lot on the numbers in running his program, very heavy into the computerized part of strategy and all of that, the algorithms and the metrics and this kind of stuff. So personally, I mean, I would give him another year to come back and get it going in a positive direction in a bigger way, and to ensure that they get back into the NCAA tournament if they don't make it this year, as it looks like will be the case. So that would be my suggestion. Starting over from scratch. I mean, you just look. You think the people at Mississippi State are down on their coach right now? I mean, he won a national championship last year, and he's going to miss everything. The SEC, the NCAA, and that's a South Carolina guy. Went to Sockasty High School. You think they're down on him? They've probably given him slack.
You would hope there's a honeymoon period after you win a national championship. And Chris Lemonis, I can't imagine is going anywhere, Phil. But I did actually see, you see some of these wild, outlandish stuff on social media, and they were joking about is Lemonis out the door? And there's just no way Mississippi State can be that stupid with their administration. If they are, they don't deserve him, quite frankly.
Yeah. There's no. That would be the shocker of shockers. The point is that you can be superb one year and the jackass the next year, and that's what happens. I don't know what happened with Mississippi State. I don't know if they just had so many players that they lost off last year's team, if they've had just a ton of injuries. I don't know. But, boy, to go from the championship to, just dead last in the SEC and not going to make the tournament, that's a major fall from grace, and something that I don't think anybody saw that coming as far as I can tell. Mississippi State right now with a record of 9-18 in the SEC. Well, they're not dead last. Missouri would be dead last at 8-19. And Mississippi State under 500 at 26-27. So, misery loves company. And South Carolina and Kentucky, Missouri, Mississippi State, they're kind of the teams that are down in that neighborhood this year. But, South Carolina, if they can go to Florida, maybe squeeze out a win or two, secure their spot in the SEC tournament and go there. One thing he did say, we'll play the comments here coming up. One thing he did talk about was, if they go ahead and clinch that spot in the SEC tournament while they're at Florida, they could change some things in their rotation to set it up on Tuesday so that one of their better pitchers is set to start on Tuesday.
Who says he doesn't listen to Sports Talk?
I'm sure he figured that out on his own.
I would think so.
I'm sure he figured that out on his own.
But that's exactly what they should do.
Yeah.
Once they clinch a spot in the SEC tournament, win or lose, if they get some help, there's no reason you run Noah Hall out there Friday and no reason to run Will Sanders out there Saturday. You need those guys next week, and next week is going to be considerably more important for them than this weekend at Florida is.
Yeah. This is true. The wins at Florida with their higher RPI would look good. But, you got to have somebody that you can count on. Of course, the way Becker pitched, if you don't use him up a whole lot in this Florida series, maybe you just have him standing by to be your starter on Tuesday. He pitched very well last night. All right, we'll hit a break, and we'll be back. We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR. Of course, hunting is very popular across the state of South Carolina. Major Downer, what things should our hunters be thinking about before they get out in the fields?
It seems like every other show we're talking about hunting safety of some sort. Whether it's turkey season or deer season, hunters always need to be aware of the target. Make sure before you pull that trigger that you know what you're looking at. Whether it's a turkey during turkey season or a deer during deer season, you're identifying features of your game. You know what's beyond that target in case you miss.
Learn more about the great outdoors in South Carolina with Major Billy Downer on SC Wild here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. Futurescholar.com.
I'm not like some whoop-de-doo executive chef. I consider myself more of a baker than a chef. I like working with my hands. I like turning regular ingredients into like something spectacular.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has funded over 450,000 life scholarships in our state, giving countless students a chance to answer their calling, just like Aaron. Your passion is our purpose.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Phone number here on Sports Talk, 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. And since 2002, more than $572 million in lottery proceeds have been used to fund Palmetto Fellow scholarships for the state's college-bound students. Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at seeducationlottery.com/education wins. And playing for fun is a win for education. We'll hear from the baseball coaches. We will be visited by Mike Morgan a little bit after 7 o'clock. Real quick, couple of quick notes. Freddie Kitchens, the former head coach of the Cleveland Browns, the former Alabama quarterback, most recently with the Giants, hired by Shane Beamer as an offensive analyst. Of course, he and Jody Wright worked together with the Giants. Kitchens, a native of Gadsden, Alabama, played at Bama, 3-year starter, and passed for nearly 5,000 yards. Got a lot of NFL experience, had been in the league since 2006, head coach of the Browns in 2019, worked with the Giants as tight ends coach in 2020, and an offensive assistant and interim offensive coordinator in 2021. That's a great hire. That is a great hire by Shane Beamer. This guy brings a ton of experience to the program, not to mention a big name, a famous name,
Sure.
And a huge man. I mean, he is just a monster of a person. You see him on the sidelines. He's just huge. He was huge when he was a quarterback at Alabama.
Now, that's an off-the-field role, correct? So, I mean, what would a senior football analyst do? Is his whole job just to sit there and watch game tape 24/7 and help Marcus Satterfield and those guys? And, I don't understand what that role is for him, but you're right. I mean, it's a huge name to come into the program.
Yeah, basically, I think you described it. It's an off the field. You can't be on the field. You can't recruit. You can't be on the field coaching, but you can sit in on the meetings and you can analyze the tape and you can make suggestions and you can work with the game. You can help fine tune the game plan. There's all kinds of things you can do to be a credit. Look, these analyst positions, they're all over. They are huge parts of these programs now. You look at the roster of coaches at the various big time schools, and they've got, 8-10 analysts of one sort of another. Then also let me mention that only the College of Charleston, of our state teams, the 4 teams in the NCAA men's golf tournament, only the College of Charleston advanced to the NCAA championship phase. The Cougars playing in the Palm Beach Regional, and they get in after a round today of 4 over. They finished plus 14. They were the 5th team to qualify in their regional, behind Vanderbilt, Florida State, Florida, South Florida, then the Cougars, who were unranked. So that's a mild surprise, maybe a big surprise. Congratulations to the college for getting in. Clemson came up short in the Columbus Regional. The Tigers finished tied for 6th at plus 14. They missed the cut by 4. East Tennessee State was the 5th place team at plus 10. Oklahoma State and Georgia Tech tied for top honors at minus 10. And make that in Ohio State finished 3rd at plus 4. And Arkansas finished 4th at plus 7. So Oklahoma State, Georgia Tech, Ohio State, Arkansas, and East Tennessee State advanced there. South Carolina finished 6 shots back of Utah for the 5th spot in its regional, Norman, Oklahoma. It was Oklahoma, Auburn, Ole Miss, Texas, and Utah advancing from that regional.
Oklahoma was 26 under par.
Yeah, 26 under par.
Did they play miniature golf while everybody else had to go out and play regular golf?
Well, they know their course, man. Arizona State finished 38 under par in its region. Arizona finished, that's not so good. Wake Forest finished 26 under in their regional. Quickly, let's go to Andy in Columbia. Get some phone calls rolling here on Sports Talk. Andy, welcome in tonight. How are you?
Good evening to you, Mr. Korn, Chris, and Pat. I hope y'all are doing well. I'm making it.
Yes, sir.
As usual. A couple of things. Tell me what the attendance has been since Mark Kingston has been. Do you have any idea what attendance has been like in the years over Mark Kingston's reign here at South Carolina?
Well, I can only go by what I've seen in person, and I know this year it was really down. I know the number that they report. They report tickets sold and then anything above that. But I was there for a lot of games this season, and attendance was way down. No question about it.
No one's showing up for games. No one's buying concessions. They're losing money left and right. The man's a joke. You want to talk analytics? The analytics are right there. The win losses. It speaks for itself. And you say he took a team to the Super Regional. None of them were his kids. None. Zero. None.
Well, he coached them. His staff coached them. Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? A blind man can catch a bug at times too.
All right. If you want to hang, we'll get back to you in a few minutes. Got to hit a break, and we'll be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear and muggy this evening, a low dipping to 62. Tomorrow, the hottest day of the week with sunshine, higher humidity, and a high temp topping out at 98. No relief on Friday with the same conditions, and 97 as a high. We'll see rain chances increase to 40% on Saturday and Sunday. Looking ahead cooler next week with highs in the 80s. Brian Leonard with you on Point Local Weather. When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I definitely think it's a good product. Definitely worth keeping. I've had all kinds of conversations with these nutritionists. I've asked them about products like yours, and they'll say, oh, well, we don't want you to take that. We just want you to eat all these vegetables and fruit. And I said, you're talking to somebody here that hates fruit, and I will tolerate some vegetables. I think it only makes sense. There's no way I could eat enough fruit and vegetables to equal what this product is providing, is the way I look at it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com for more information or to place your order. Shipping is always free. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code BALANCE.
I'm already a big fan of Medicare Blueprint. Tim and his team saved me several $1,000s. They took a look at my health insurance. They helped me get the best possible plan. But not long ago, I reached out when we had a crisis. The big bad insurance company out of nowhere just canceled Mom's medicine for her multiple sclerosis. No warning, 30 years, same med, and just like that, gone. Here's the good news. Medicare Blueprint doesn't work for the insurance companies. They work for you. They're local. Imagine me trying to get this fixed, calling some national toll-free number. Outsourced operators never talk to the same person twice. Medicare Blueprint went to work, helped me get Mom's meds back, and how's this? Even less expensively than we were paying before. Incredible customer service and local. What a great formula. Oh, and it cost me nothing for their services. Nothing. Whether you're on Medicare or not, my mom is, I'm not. Medicare Blueprint helped both of us. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398. That's 708-7398.
Everyone knows that here at The Point, we are all about supporting local businesses. We are all about local, local, local. You cannot get more local than my friend Greg McCoy and his business, Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Fran Halloran here. If you're buying a home or you're looking to refinance your current home, you owe it to yourself to call Greg. He is the real deal. You can expect Greg to treat you like you are his only client. You can expect Greg to scour the market to find you the best rate available. You can expect Greg to charge you a fair price for his work and his service. Why would you deal with some national company headquartered in who knows where when you can do business with Greg? Need further persuasion? Okay, I didn't even mention the good Greg does in our community by supporting local charities like Blue Star Mothers and Camp Chemo. Come on, you need to call Greg. Online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com, or you can call Greg at 803-722-6044. That's 722-6044.
You know what? I get asked every now and then, Kev, when you say my guy, do you really have a my guy at Palmetto Exterminators? I really do. Ron Byers is my guy. Do you realize I've been a customer of Palmetto Exterminators for 20 years this summer. That's over the course of 3 homes, longer than my kids have been around. I'm loyal to Palmetto Exterminators for several reasons. First, they do a phenomenal job with pest control for a very fair price. It's just not a concern around my home. They take care of everything from regular visits to termite inspection, mosquito care. This is a company that's been around for more than 60 years serving the Midlands. When they come around, they're clean, they're courteous, and they're on time. Look, it's not just me. When it comes to things like those pesky mosquitoes, Palmetto Exterminators voted best of Columbia in Columbia Metropolitan for their mosquito control. I could have told you that before anyone even voted. What else can you possibly need from your pest control company? If you're looking for someone to help you, look no further than my guy, Ron Byers, Palmetto Exterminators. Online, it's palmettoexterminators.net or call them 254-5833, 254-5833.
All right, we're back on Sports Talk here on a Wednesday night, jam-packed Wednesday nights. Comments from the baseball coaches coming up. A visit with Mike Morgan. It's an SC Wild night tonight, 7:30. Major Billy Downer is going to be here. He's going to be talking about the boating season, new boating laws in South Carolina that you need to be aware of, and how to react to all of that. We'll take your phone calls for him when he joins us a little bit after 7:30. Back to your phone calls here in just a moment. And plus, recruiting report is coming up. We always, of course, like to give back to the good people of South Carolina here on Sports Talk by letting you hear from important people in our state who have important things to say. With that in mind, we welcome into the program from the Department of Agriculture and the South Carolina Peach Council, Jenny Gahagan, with us here on Sports Talk. Jenny, good evening. How you doing?
I'm good. How are y'all doing?
We're doing great. Great to have the Peach Council back with us on Sports Talk for another great peach season in South Carolina. It's right here upon us.
Yes, and we are excited to be back talking with y'all and working with y'all again this season.
What is the timeline for the upcoming season?
So our peach growers all over the state have started harvesting peaches over the past couple of weeks or so, and the season's going to run till about mid-September. So everyone's going to have plenty of time to enjoy our state fruit all summer long.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing like a South Carolina peach. And why are our peaches better than anybody else's peaches? What makes our peaches so peachy good?
Yeah, so a lot of people know Georgia as the peach state, but we've kind of taken on the nickname of the tastier peach state because here in South Carolina, we have the ideal conditions for growing the sweet, flavorful peaches people are looking for. We have some slightly more acidic soils, our hot days, Cuban nights, and we get plenty of chill hours that peaches need to grow during the winter. And this makes for the perfect environment for making sure our growers are able to deliver the sweet, tasty, and nutrient-packed peaches that they are used to getting every season.
And it's a great time to have the peaches out available for the public and in the market, with everybody traveling here with the holiday coming up, heading down towards the beach. You'll see peach stands all over the place. And so you can find great South Carolina peaches, I'm sure, up and down the highways.
Yes, so not even just there. So with the season kicking off, people are going to be able to find them, like you mentioned, in the roadside stands, out at farmers markets, even our peach growers at their farms. They have a lot of stores where they sell them straight to the consumers right out of the shed. Later on in the season and in the next few weeks, people will be able to start seeing them in grocery stores and other retail outlets too.
Jenny, I'm a little biased. I'm actually over here in the PD, and I love McLeod Farms and the Max Pride peaches. I think they're as good as any you'll find anywhere. When you're walking into a store and you're going to pick out the perfect peach, what are you looking for in terms of consistency, fuzziness, for lack of a better term? What do you look at when you're going into a grocery store to make sure you select a peach that is ready to eat?
So it depends on if you're wanting to eat it right then and there, or if you're wanting it to sit on wait a couple of days to get it. So peaches, they'll ripen over time. So when you're in the grocery store and you pick one up, usually you can, smell the aroma of a peach when you're in there. But if you just give it a gentle squeeze or a press on the flesh, if it starts to give and is a little softer, that means it's ripe and ready to eat now. But if it's a little firmer, all you have to do is let them sit on the counter for a day or two until you feel the kind of give that they have. And that's when you know they're ripe and ready to eat.
Can't wait to dive into some peaches. Chris made the comment. He's over in the PD area and mentioned the area up there around McBee and heading up towards Charlotte and those roads loaded with peaches and peach farms. And then you've got the Gaffney area, the same. And then over in Edgefield and Aiken County over that way, loaded with peaches. Have we got a nice little rivalry going between the various farmers in the various sections of the state?
That I always think there's a little bit of rivalry going on between everybody just because that is their business and that's their main crop during this time of year. But overall, they usually work together pretty well, especially all of our members on the council, just to promote the industry as a whole in South Carolina, just because of how important peaches are to our state.
I was going to ask you, how important is the peach industry, peach farming to the state of South Carolina?
So it is a pretty big deal here. I know we call ourselves the tastier peach state because of our flavors and everything, but we are consistently the top peach producing state on the East Coast, and we're second only to California nationwide. So we're a really big player in the peach game.
Jenny, we can't thank you enough. Great to have you guys back with us. We look forward to talking more about peaches in South Carolina, the South Carolina Peach Council, and everything that you guys do for the state of South Carolina. We thank you so much for being with us, and have a peachy evening.
Yes, thank y'all. Thanks for having us on.
How creative is that?
Thanks,
thank
Jenny.
you. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you. Jenny Gahagan from the South Carolina Department of Agriculture and the South Carolina Peach Council. Have a peachy evening. That's going to be my sign-off now.
I love it.
Have a
I do
peachy
love it,
evening
Phil.
here in the tastier peach state. Good to have them with us, and good to get the word out about peaches in South Carolina. All right, 888-898-2525 is our phone number, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on the program. And tell you what, I want to get to some of these comments from the baseball coaches, and we'll do that in just a moment. And let me update a couple of other things from today that are worth mentioning. We told you about Freddie Kitchens coming on at South Carolina. You'll know Freddie Kitchens when you see him if he comes through with the Gamecock walk. He'll be as big as any of the defensive tackles that they have. He is just remember watching him on the sideline. He is a big, big fellow. So our poll question of the week, what grade would you give the Gamecocks overall athletic program for the 21-22 academic year? And 62.4% graded a C. That's out of 359 votes thus far. 24.5% give it a B. 10.6% give it a big old red F. 2.5% give it an A. All right. You can go to our website, sportstalksc.com, or our Twitter at SportsTalkSC and vote. Pitching rotations for the Clemson BC series. Yes, sir.
I was just going to interject. If you are actually a Gamecock fan, now I can understand Clemson fans chiming in and giving it an F. That makes perfect sense. But if you're a Gamecock fan, how in the world can you look at the athletics department and what they did this past year? Yeah, basketball wasn't very good. Baseball has struggled. Football won a bowl game. They had a national championship in women's basketball. How can you legitimately give the athletic department an F?
Yeah, or an A.
Yeah, good point.
An A
Either
or
one
an
of
F,
them.
yeah. So the pitching rotations, Clemson, BC, Mac Anglin for the Tigers tomorrow against Joe Mancini. Left-hander Jeffrey Gilbert on Friday against right-hander Henry Leak. And then Billy Barlow on Saturday against TBA. Former Clemson and MLB pitcher and former College of Charleston coach John Pulowski is resigning as the coach at Western Kentucky. Kendall Rogers reporting this afternoon. And he is 18-33 and 7-20 in the conference this season. The NCAA D1 Council today paved the way for leagues to eliminate divisions, which is something that apparently every conference is now considering doing. So No longer do you have to have divisions to have a championship game. They're doing away with the divisions. And also, the council today removed for the next 2 years the 25-player limit on your signing classes in football, as long as you stay under 85 scholarships. So, for what that's worth, I mean, some schools are always hitting 25 and some were in the mid-teens with their classes because they were retaining players. By the way, the Pac-12 has already said that they will now feature the 2 teams with the highest conference winning percentage in their championship game, which I guess is the way every league will do it if they do away with divisions, right? They'll just take the 2 teams with the highest percentage.
So like the Big 12 has done. If I'm the SEC, though, I'm still thinking about the pod system because I can get 2 semifinal games and a championship game. I can make a ton more money than just having 16 teams playing one another. I'll be fascinated to see how the SEC comes up with a schedule if they eliminate divisions and just have 1 through 16.
So if they do go to that pod format, Chris, and I say this kind of tongue in cheek, do you think schools will hang a banner as being a pod champion? Will we have 4 pod champs each season?
Sure.
Championship, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
You paint that on the side of your stadium, inside your stadium. You paint that on the side of the wall there for sure. Here's the updated RPIs for some teams in the state. I didn't do every one of them, just the ones at the top. So Clemson is 23 after last night's loss. Coastal is up to 26. They have been one of the big movers in the country in the RPI. Wofford is 29. Charleston is 48. USC is 71. And Upstate, which won last night, over was it Kennesaw they beat last night? They're at 117 at this point. And I tell you what, I want to go to the Mark Kingston comments after last night's game. Gamecocks lose that game to Charlotte. That's funny thing about baseball, the Gamecocks won more innings and were even in the others, but they lost 1 inning big. And that was an 8-run inning that Charlotte had after they took out Becker and went to the bullpen, and the bullpen could not protect the lead for the Gamecocks last night. So they take it on the chin from Charlotte. First time they've lost to Charlotte. They don't play them every year. First time they've lost to Charlotte since 2008. Gamecocks lose it 8-3. Here's Mark Kingston after the game last night.
For most of the night, we pitched really well, but we had the one tough inning, and that cost us. Charlotte's a good team. They swung the bats well, especially in the 5th inning. So gotta tip your cap. I thought there were some positives. Matthew Becker back out there as a starter looked really good again, and 4 innings scoreless. It was good to see CJ back out there again. Been a while since he's pitched. He gave us a scoreless inning, and Cam was really good. So some positives tonight, but obviously we came out to win. We didn't get it done.
Was there any thought about keeping Becker out there, or was the pitch count just a little too?
No, zero thought. That was the very, very high end of what we were comfortable with. We wanted him to get us off to a good start, which he did. But he needs to be available for the Florida series, and then hopefully.
And just what did you see from Aiden and Parker there in that 5th inning?
Yeah, they just made some bad pitches, and just when you leave the ball in the middle of the plate to good hitters, good, powerful, strong hitters like that.
What was the message to the guys afterwards?
11 o'clock bus tomorrow. Be ready to go. It's Gamecocks versus Gators, and that's special baseball, so be ready to go.
Mark, you obviously got the weekend in front of you at Florida and then SEC tournament. I guess just when you look at this team beyond just winning games, I guess, what do you see as this team has to do to get to a regional to put itself in that position?
You just win games. I mean, we have 3 regular season games left and then the conference tournament, so we just need to go win, bottom line.
How much does this loss kind of sting just from that perspective of knowing that there wasn't a whole lot of room for error?
Yeah, I mean, every loss stings throughout the year. I can go back to a number of losses this year and that felt like wins and it's just they all sting. Colin, they all sting, and every win you're excited and you want to build on, and every loss stings. And so tonight was just one of those that stung, and you just got to move on.
Once you're in the SEC tournament, would you consider changing up anything in your rotation for the Florida series so that you could maybe have Will start on Tuesday?
Potentially. We'll evaluate it. Obviously, you want to ensure, number one, that you are in that tournament, and then we're going to go game by game in terms of who we're pitching, how we're pitching, them. And so, yeah, we will take all that into consideration, knowing what our situation is right now. So everything will be on.
Mark, I know you still got a couple games left and everything, but I guess when you look at this team and what they've gone through this year, I guess what do you feel like you've kind of learned about this team and yourself as a coach and the staff as well?
Yeah, I don't want to get into that big summary of the season yet. I think it's probably a little bit too early. I respect I respect that you're asking that question right now, but I'd rather wait till we get through the season and finish and see how we finish before I start.
I guess that Rossi pitcher really kind of kept you guys at bay. Just what changed offensively after that fourth inning there?
Well, the pitcher changed. I mean, that's, again, we talk about it all the time, pitching versus hitting and matchups and sinker ball versus a four-seam guy. And then there are certain pitchers we really do a nice job. And then there are certain pitchers that kind of have our number based on the personnel we have. So just he came in, he did a nice job. He attacked us. He didn't walk anybody through 5 innings. And he just throws a tough pitch to hit when he's on. And he had good command tonight.
Just your thoughts on the Florida series and a little preview from what you've seen of them and what you expect to see down there.
Yeah, obviously it's a very storied program. It's a good team. They've probably struggled a little bit more this year than they're used to struggling, but we know it's going to be very competitive baseball. We know they have a lot to play for, much like we do. So we expect great baseball. They're an intense group. You always get good arms when you face Florida. They've got one of the better power hitters in the country in Fabian. And so it's an athletic group. It's a group they play some young guys just like we do. So again, I think it'll be really good baseball.
And in all your years of coaching in college baseball, you look at Mississippi State, they won the national championship. Yeah. Now they might not even make the SEC tournament. You ever seen a team kind of go from top to bottom like that? Any thoughts about how that happens?
I don't know all the inner workings of Mississippi State right now, but I just think what that does is show the parity in college baseball. I think it shows that a couple injuries, I know they have a couple pitching injuries that have really, kind of steamrolled their season. And I just think it shows how fragile that when you're in the SEC, when you lose a couple guys like they did, it steamrolled them. And it just, this league is so competitive. This league is so talented that when you're not at full go, it's a challenge. And I think to go from national champions to, as you mentioned, maybe they don't make the SEC tournament. I just think that shows what the SEC is these days.
All right, Mark Kingston from last night, and pitching rotations for the Florida weekend now set. It'll be Brett Thomas for the Gamecocks tomorrow night, 1-1, 5.85 against right-hander Brandon Sproat, 7-4, 3.97, 66 strikeouts in 68 innings. Then Noah Hall, 3-4, 4.40 ERA, 74 strikeouts in 73 2/3 innings against freshman right-hander Brandon Neely, 2-1, 3.86. 54 strikeouts, 49 innings. And then Will Sanders, 7-3, 3.76, 81 innings, 78 strikeouts against Nick Pogue. Right-hander, 3-2, 4.70, 21 strikeouts in 23 innings. So he hadn't thrown a heck of a lot, but always, Florida always has big arms, strong arms, guys that get a lot of strikeouts. So give you some idea of what the Gamecocks would be looking at in that
I just
series.
don't understand that. I just don't understand that from USC's perspective. And I guess it could change if they find out they're in. But to run Hall and Sanders out this weekend makes no sense. Save them for next week in the SEC tournament.
Well, they might do that once they get in. I think they're going to reevaluate at that point and think about that.
Well, then why not just put out TBA?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Mark Kingston that question. Now, Monty Lee, you were around him after last night's game.
I actually was not. Former Sports Talk helper, I guess the best way to got to give Justin Mathis some credit on this.
Justin was there.
Yeah,
okay.
Justin was down there. I was waiting on Coach Gilmore. I couldn't be, unfortunately, in both places at once. But Justin able to get in there with Coach Lee afterwards, and I give Monty some credit. He obviously didn't want to talk to the media after that game last night, 17-2. But here's what the head coach of the Tigers had to say after his team's loss in Conway to CCU last night.
I'm not one of those guys that makes excuses. We didn't play well, we didn't pitch well early in the game, and they took advantage of us. And they beat us pretty good. It was tough to watch. Way too many free 90s, a lot of walks, HBPs. But give Coastal credit. They swung the bat well. They pitched exceptionally well. They were a much better team tonight in their home ballpark, and they won the game.
Big series coming up this weekend. Yep. You know, y'all play Thursday, so quick turnaround again. Yep. Don't have to let this sit with you too long.
Yeah, man, and I just told the guys that, look, we got to let it go. You know, we've been here before. We've played really good baseball. We've played really bad baseball. And the bottom line is we got to let it go. We got to be ready to go and control our own destiny. We got to earn the right to keep playing. That's what I just told the team. Bottom line is you have the opportunity to earn the right to keep playing baseball past this weekend, but you got to earn it. You know, it's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take toughness. It's going to take selflessness. It's going to take everybody pulling together and playing our best baseball. Great thing is we get to play at home. We get to finish the regular season at home, 3-game series in front of our fans, and I think we'll be ready to go. We got to get back tonight super late, and we'll try to rest up tomorrow and be light on them tomorrow and, you know, get ready for Boston College.
Any update on Cooper Ingle?
I will know something tomorrow. He's going to get looked at by our doctors in Clemson tomorrow, and I hope to know something by tomorrow afternoon as far as his status for the weekend.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get an update on Cooper Ingle for you here in just a little bit. Next hour or so, if we can get that information, we'll pass that along. Meantime, it's time for the recruiting report here on Sports Talk. It is brought to you by Seawells, very best in the catering business, the good folks at Seawells. Their phone number, 803-771-7385. Online at SeawellsCateringSC.com for more than 70 years. The Seawells family and staff been handling all the planning and catering needs for people all across South Carolina. They'll host at their facility, where they will come to your location. And, of course, part of what they do, the daily luncheon buffet every day from 11 till 2 for only $13. You can't beat it. It is a great, great meal. You will walk away, shall I say, heavier than when you walked in after eating the daily luncheon buffet.
I think fat and happy is the term you're looking for.
Well, I didn't want to be rude and crude. Now, look, you can go in there and be a vegetarian and just eat salad and vegetables and maybe not walk away heavier, you know. But most people that I see in there choose not to do that. They choose to plow through that line. Face down, plowing through. All right, so in recruiting, offensive tackle, Oluwatosin Babalade. I love that name. Oluwatosin Babalade, 6'5", 296, Hyattsville, Maryland. He's identified 4 programs he wants to visit this summer. These are kind of his top schools right now. North Carolina this weekend, USC June 10th, Rutgers June 24th, and Maryland, the 4th school. Shane Beamer and offensive line coach Greg Atkins have been in touch with him ever since he visited back for the spring game, and they've continued to develop the relationship with him. He talked to Beamer just the other day. They were checking in on him. They really, really like him. They really want him in the program, and right now he likes them a good bit, but he's still looking at some other possibilities as well. He's also been to North Carolina, Pitt, and Rutgers unofficially, and he's looking forward to taking his mother with him on these official visits so she can get a look at everything as well. He'll name another short list, 6 or 7 schools this summer. He's looking at August 10th for a possible commitment date. Some of the other offers are Duke, Boston College, Pitt, NC State, Kentucky, Indiana, Vandy, Syracuse, Miami, Michigan, Virginia Tech, and Penn State. USC last night offered athlete Cameron Sandlin, 6'2", 220, Anniston, Alabama, according to his tweet. Now, he's listed as a top dual-threat quarterback nationally. However, the Gamecocks like him as an athlete, potentially a tight end or a wide receiver. In fact, he posted practice video of him blocking and going out for passes, and he has stated he's an athlete who can play anywhere on the field. He also has offers from Mississippi State, Kentucky, UAB, Western Kentucky, Georgia State, Samford, Austin Peay, and Alcorn State. He visited Georgia, Auburn, and Mississippi State. USC recruiter Jody Wright, also at Anniston, offered athlete Jalen Cunningham, 5'9", 170. He plays running back and receiver. Also Tuesday night, defensive tackle Kelby Collins of Gardendale, Alabama, announced an official visit date with the Gamecocks for June 10th. They're in his top 5 along with Georgia, Florida, Oklahoma, and Alabama. You can pull in a player like that, then you know you're doing some good stuff in recruiting. Also in recruiting. USC offered another player from Anniston, Alabama, 2024 offensive guard Malachi Harris, who is 6'4", 320. And also, wide receiver Aiden Williams has set an official visit to South Carolina for June 24th. And we have a Clemson basketball target, Josiah Alec, who is going to transfer not to Clemson but to New Mexico. He was scheduled for an official visit to Clemson on Monday, but he committed actually, what was the 15th? The 15th would have been what? Sunday?
Sunday.
Yeah. So I doubt he made it to Clemson. His former coach at UMKC is at Clemson, giving Clemson some feeling that they might get him, but he has committed to New Mexico. All right, that'll do it for recruiting. Top of the hour break coming up. Mike Morgan on the other side. We'll also hear from Gary Gilmore in our next half hour.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Stocks fell sharply today as retail store Target's woes renew inflation fears.
Stocks slumped on Wall Street Wednesday as the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell more than 1,100 points and the S&P 500 had its biggest drop in nearly 2 years. Poor earnings reports from Target and other major retailers added to inflation concerns. The S&P dropped 4%, the Nasdaq fell 4.7%, and the Dow dropped 3.6%. Target lost a quarter of its value after reporting earnings that were far short of what analysts had forecast. Wall Street appears headed to its sixth consecutive weekly loss. I'm Mike Gracia.
The United States is hailing Finland and Sweden's move to become members of NATO. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
President Biden is set to welcome the leaders of Finland and Sweden to the White House as the two nations pursue NATO membership. Advisor Jake Sullivan.
This is a historic event, a watershed moment in European security.
Finland and Sweden both have long track records of neutrality, but are now seeking to join NATO following Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Wednesday's development comes just as Turkey renewed its objections to the two Nordic countries joining. Shortly before police say he opened fire, the white gunman accused of killing 10 black people at a Buffalo, New York supermarket allowed a small group of people to see his long simmering plans for the attack, which he'd been chronicling for months in a private online diary. Discord, the chat platform where 18-year-old Peyton Gendron kept the diary, confirmed Wednesday that an invitation to access his private writings was sent to the group about a half hour before Saturday's attack. Again on Wall Street, the Dow down by over 1,000 points today. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor pain relief. It's natural pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com, and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com. Relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
New message. Hey, girlfriend, it's Carol from jury duty. We never actually spoke, but I saw you order the same hoagie as me at lunch. What are the chances? Anywho, I heard you just got a boat. We should totally grab some hoagies and take it out for a spin.
When you get a boat, you also get new friends. Make sure Progressive's one of them, and get coverage today for as little as $100 a year.
Do I want to feel the wind in my hair? Guilty as charged. Oh, seriously, let's ride on your boat.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Annual premium for basic liability policy not available in all states.
A majority of voters think world leaders see President Biden as weaker than former President Trump.
Voters don't see President Joe Biden as having good relationships with most world leaders, and more than half believe those world leaders view him as weaker than his predecessor. A new Rasmussen Reports national telephone and online survey finds that 53% of likely U.S. voters believe most world leaders see President Biden as weaker than former President Donald Trump. 33% feel Mr. Biden is stronger than Mr. Trump in the eyes of most world leaders. The survey of 1,000 likely U.S. voters was conducted between May 15th and 16th. The margin of error was plus or minus 3% with a 95% level of confidence. Bernie Bennett reporting.
Missouri Governor Mike Parson has signed new U.S. House districts into law to be used beginning with this year's elections. The new districts are expected to continue Republicans' 6-2 advantage over Democrats in the state's congressional delegation. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear and muggy this evening, a low dipping to 62. Tomorrow, the hottest day of the week with sunshine, higher humidity, and a high temp topping out at 98. No relief on Friday with the same conditions, and 97 as a high. We'll see rain chances increase to 40% on Saturday and Sunday. Looking ahead, cooler next week with highs in the 80s. Brian Leonard with you on Point Local Weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Please press button now. No, number 1.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, we continue here on this big Wednesday night edition of Sports Talk. Glad you're with us wherever you have dialed in across the state of South Carolina. Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, Pat Daniel. And coming up, Mike Morgan in just a moment. We're going to hear from Gary Gilmore after his win last night over Clemson. Not just a win, an absolute pounding with a P for the Chanticleers over the Tigers. And watch Coastal Carolina now heading to the postseason, man. They could be very dangerous. Watch the College of Charleston. If College of Charleston is in close games in the postseason, and if they've got a lead 7th inning on and they bring in that closer, baby, close the door.
Yeah, Prevet will finish some games for them. That's what makes them a very dangerous, and they'll be a 4 seed, you would think, Phil. And there are going to be some number 1 teams that will try and figure out, all right, can we hold our ace to pitch against the 2 or 3 seed winner? You may not want to do that against the college.
That'd be mistake, I would say. And SC Wild coming up at the bottom of the hour with Major Billy Downer. We're going to talk about the new boating laws in South Carolina for this boating season. We'll take your phone calls, questions that you might have. Maybe you want to pick a fight with the Major over something with DNR and legislative regulations. He is here for all of that at 7:35, so get ready for that coming up. Right now, however, we welcome back to Sports Talk after a brief vacation last week. Mike Morgan, another edition of Morgan on the Move. He's brought to you by Gibson Insurance. Former Gamecock player Bo Mobley, former coach Stuart Lake wants you on their team for all your insurance needs. Cost-effective solutions for now and long-term are what they offer, and are licensed with every insurance company in South Carolina. So give Bo and Stu a call today, 803-605-0029. It's 803-605-0029. And Mike does not give us enough credit for being smart enough to be able to read numbers versus words. He spells out the phone number here. He puts double instead of 00. It's DOUBLE, as in double, like a double to center field. Anyway, Mike, good to have you with us. How are you? You had a great call last night, that Florida State game.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that was fun. And by the way, it's just like boat regulations. You have to spell it out as clearly and plainly as possible so that there's no wiggle room. It's all that you stay safe when you read that phone number. But yes, a good one last night, Florida State, which, that's the equivalent of Carolina Clemson for those folks. They don't do it in one weekend. They kind of spread it out over the course of the year on 3 midweek games, but wound up going to the 9th inning. Both teams trying to fight for a host site, and Florida won it on a walk-off that you might have seen on a ball that Sterling Thompson, who many Cody Bellinger, kind of a long, rangy left-handed bat, and he smashed one. That is probably the farthest home run ball I've seen hit all year long, but a fun one to call. Had a regional feel to it last night in Gainesville.
I bet it did. And now South Carolina goes to Florida, so you've got Florida on the mind. You can tell us exactly about the Gators, who are 33-19, and they are 13 in the RPI. And they're not maybe as good as they normally are, but I imagine they still have a bevy of pitchers and guys that throw hard and get a lot of strikeouts and things like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I've got Vanderbilt tomorrow night, and Vanderbilt and Florida have kind of mirrored each other in two teams that we've just been accustomed to seeing, in Omaha and having great years. Both are preseason top 10, and both, quite frankly, were going through a tailspin in the middle of the season. And then Florida loses Barco, their ace, so Gamecocks will not have to worry about facing him over the weekend. But they've still got talented young arms. You saw that out of the bullpen last night. Like, they weren't just giving guys innings because it was a midweek game. And it's Florida State. Much like Carolina Clemson, you're going to do everything you can to win the game. And you saw those really good young arms that typically get better as the season moves along. So the time to play Florida would have been a month ago when they were really trying to find themselves. Right now, they're playing baseball, and they've still got some household names in that offense, and everybody knows, not everybody, but people that follow SEC baseball closely know the name Judd Fabian. He was a second-round pick of the Red Sox last year, came back. Well, he is right now in the middle of a 1-for-29 slump. I'd be very curious to see how he does this weekend, because he's a much better player than that, but he is fighting it right now. Seems like every other at bat's a strikeout and can't hit very well. But they got two guys in Wyatt Langford and Sterling Thompson that have just been blasting the ball. And Ryapel, the transfer from Coastal Carolina, he might be their third best hitter in the lineup. He's very dangerous, whether he's catching or whether he's playing first. So it'll be a challenging series for the Gamecocks, no doubt.
Well, this is kind of interesting. I mentioned this earlier in the show. South Carolina lost last night to Charlotte. That's 12 home losses for the Gamecocks. That's the most if you use the D1 RPI ranking. Of the top 75, the Gamecocks have the most home losses at 12, but Florida's had 10 home losses. That's very un-Florida-like to be so susceptible at home.
Yeah, it is. It's only the second year of that new ballpark, which I think they're still trying to figure out how it plays. Right now, it seems like the ball's out of that yard. But no, home, away, obviously everybody plays a little bit better at home. But when you're struggling, and you can't just hide behind your home ballpark to kind of get you through all that. When you're struggling to win games and you're not playing particularly well, which Florida was not for a portion of this season. And it doesn't matter where you play, you're going to take some L's. But again, they're playing better now. They've won their last three games last night in walk-off fashion, and they still believe that they have a chance at hosting. The only way they have that legitimate chance is to at least win 2 out of 3 against Carolina, if not sweep. Without that, they're going to be playing on the road somewhere as a 2 seed in all likelihood.
What is your best explanation for what happened to Mississippi State this season, going from national champion to out of practically everything? They'll play Tennessee this weekend and probably not going to make the SEC tournament. What happened? Injuries? Too many players left after last season? What's the deal?
Yeah, I mean, the last time a defending champion didn't make it to the NCAA tournament was 2014 UCLA. So, I mean, that is really rare. To go down. The obvious reason that everybody goes to first is Sims, who might be the best pitcher in college baseball. So you lose him for the year. You got to figure that's 4 or 5 games that you win in all likelihood that you lost, and so it flips the script pretty quickly. Looks like, but I think it's deeper than that. I think quite frankly, they got a little full of themselves. There's a lot of players in that lineup that are returnees from last year's squad. Now, they lost Tanner Allen, who was the best hitter in the SEC play. But they also have a lot of guys back. And I think just They started off a little bit overconfident, a little cocky, and then all of a sudden they started losing and got into a little bit of a psychological spill. And I'm not sure if they've quite recovered from that, quite frankly. I think that, when you feel like you're the man and then all of a sudden you take a couple of knockout punches, sometimes you don't get up the way you thought you would. And so they lost their swagger. I hate that cliche, but I'm going to use it just this one time. And I think they've played the way they're capable of. It's not all on the Landon Sims injury. They should be a better team than what they've been this year.
Morgan on the move. Mike Morgan with us here tonight on Sports Talk, getting ready for the final weekend of the college baseball regular season. And Mike, I want to dovetail back to your comments regarding Florida's new ballpark. And it does appear to be playing small. They've hit 96 home runs as a team this season. My question, though, is if South Carolina comes in there only hitting 55 this year, do they have enough offensive firepower, especially on the long ball, to keep up with Florida this weekend?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, Carolina's been a really hard team for me to figure out on the road. Their numbers home and away are ridiculously lopsided. I mean, I think it's still about 100 points difference in average, better at home than versus away, and more power at home versus away. One thing that concerns me about a team like Florida, and Carolina fans can remember this years ago when you, or maybe even last year for that matter, when you rely on home runs. For example, Florida's hitting a bunch of home runs. You're right on that number. And I think 99 is the most they've ever had under Sully. That's great, but they're 12th in batting average. They're 11th in runs scored in the SEC. So they rely on the long ball maybe too much for my liking for the postseason. I don't like teams that have to hit home runs to win come late May and June. And that's something that would concern me about any team. That's something that, last year, when you look at that Carolina squad, they could hit home runs, but they struck out way too much, had way too many bad at-bats. I think that was a focus this year to cut down on that. And if I'm not mistaken, they just don't have the punch. They don't have the firepower that they had a year ago. And they don't have the overall roster talent that they had a year ago. And I think that's kind of shown up in the standings thus far.
Carolina announced its pitching rotation for the weekend, and Noah Hall will pitch on Friday, and Will Sanders will pitch the regular season finale on Saturday. Mike, I'm of the opinion that Mark Kingston, and he may still do this if they earn a spot into the SEC tournament on Thursday, but I'm under the sort of impression that they should save both Noah Hall and Will Sanders for next week at the SEC tournament, because for them, any postseason hopes, in my mind, rely on the SEC tournament. What would you do if you were the manager there? Would you still pitch your ace and your 1A, 1B this weekend against Florida and try and give them a little more rest to get them ready for the SEC tournament?
Oof. I mean, I want to believe – so that series starts on Thursday, right? Or is it Friday?
Thursday.
Everybody's
on Thursday. Okay. Everybody's on Thursday.
Yeah, that's right. It's final weekend. Everybody's on Thursday. Yeah. So you could start them Thursday, Friday. You're going to have to play on Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You could have those two guys go and then go on short enough rest, but not short enough where you're really going to put a shock to the system, that they should be able to go, even if it's for a shorter stint in Hoover. I wouldn't think you'd have to do one or the other. I'd like to think you could do both Thursday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday.
Couple more minutes. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to say that the one issue you run into with Mike, and I agree with that point, if that's how USC was handling its pitching staff, but Sanders won't pitch until Saturday. They've got him at the back end of the rotation on the weekend as opposed to the front end. Now, Noah Hall will pitch Friday, and I think in that scenario that you pointed out, he might be available.
Yeah, well, I've seen, and again, I know that that's where Sanders has been, because I had Carolina against Alabama, and that's the way they kept it. But I thought maybe because of the extraordinary circumstances, maybe they'd move them up. Obviously, they have not, from what you're telling me. So if that's what they've decided, that's what they've decided. But, I'd like to think, I know we treat pitchers more delicately than ever. But if you went and you did Thursday, Friday this week, and then you did Tuesday, Wednesday, that gives you 4 days rest for each guy. I mean, that's what you're going to do if you make it in the show. So I don't think that'd be too much to ask.
Last thing, we'll let you go. I know Tennessee's been a juggernaut all season, 46-7, 22-5 in the SEC. They've lost a game here and there over the last couple of weeks after having that great start. But the one thing I wanted to bring up was that of their 46 wins, 17 of them have come against teams ranked 101 and beyond. So, I mean, they've kind of beefed up the record on some kind of weak competition there. And my point is, you disagree?
If you're going where I think you're going, I disagree.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything flukish or like they're not just feasting on poor teams.
Okay,
they've won every series in the SEC but one. They've taken on. I realize it's not a round robin, right? So everybody's got a different SEC 10 series slate. So some years, yes, it is more like, for example, South Carolina's 10 series could be more difficult than Tennessee's, and it might very well be. But you don't do what Tennessee is doing this year in the Southeastern Conference with 1 week to go because, the schedule was just kind of slanted. They've been good all season. They've been the kind of dominating all season long that we just haven't seen much of.
Well,
so I can't say that they're flawed.
Here's the point. I should have just gotten right to this. 24-2 non-conference. Their strength of schedule in the non-conference is 227. So I was just kind of making the point there that they did play a pretty weak non-SEC schedule with it ranked 227.
That's fair. And again, they don't have a Coastal Carolina to play or a College of Charleston to play. They have Tennessee Tech, who's been, decent at times this year.
Mm-hmm.
Memphis, even though it's in the same state, is pretty far haul. I don't know if they play Memphis or not, but they don't have a bunch of mid-majors within the state that are going to be RPI builders. But I'm more focused on what they did in the out-of-conference tournament at the beginning of the year, which was certainly formidable, and what they did in 27 conference games up to this point. And based on that, not to mention they went to Omaha last year with a lot of these same players, I can't say that they are a product of a weak schedule. They are there's a bunch of guys who are going to be playing high-level pro baseball. I would say a handful of which will make it to the show on that team. So they are not lacking. They are not a paper champion. Now, could they go ahead and stub their toe in the postseason like Arkansas did a year ago? Absolutely. I've seen crazier things happen, and I love going back to that stat. I keep it in my back pocket for segments just like this one.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't been since 1999 that the number one team in the country that garnered the number one national seed went to Omaha and won it all. So we are 22 consecutive years where the number one team hasn't won a national title. So there's no lock that says Tennessee's going to do it, but I do think they're the best team.
Mike, enjoy your baseball weekend. We look forward to it all. Tournament play next week. Talk to you then.
You got it, guys. Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike Morgan.
That is an amazing stat.
Yeah, really.
I mean, it's incredible. Because college football, you get into a situation where the number one team almost always wins the national championship. But gosh, not in baseball.
Tennessee has played like Tennessee Tech, Asheville, Iona, East Tennessee, James Madison, Rhode Island.
No Middle Tennessee in there.
Eastern Kentucky, Western Carolina, Bellarmine, Alabama A&M. That's, just saying. Be right back after break.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to FutureScholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. FutureScholar.com.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
Hey folks, it's Mike Morgan for Gibson Insurance. Former Gamecock player Bo Mobley and former coach Stuart Lake want you on their team for all your insurance needs. Now, cost-effective solutions is what they're all about for the now and for the long term. They're licensed with every insurance company in the state. They've got offices in Columbia, Greenville, and Sumter. But if you're listening right now, let me direct you to call Bo and Stu today at 803-605-0029. That's 803-605-0029. Let my good friends take great care of you.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Thanks to Mike Morgan for being with us here on Sports Talk. Here's a few minutes with Gary Gilmore following the win last night over Clemson. I don't think anybody saw that kind of beating that the Chanticleers put on the Tigers. He was very, what would you say, humble and understated, I would say, after the ball game about beating the Tigers in that manner. It's baseball. He understands it. He was just on the other side of it last week. Here's Gary Gilmore.
Last week in the midweek, we had what happened to them today happen to us. Just wasn't a great game for them, and seemed like everything that could go right for us went right for us. And a lot of that is our kids were competing. I was very, very proud of Potok. He young kid out there. You don't really know what you're going to get when you run him out there in that environment and stuff. And that young man was absolutely outstanding. And you're going to. Barring anything happening to him health-wise, that young man's going to be a real special pitcher here before it's over with. And, our guys stepped up. We had a bunch of guys get multiple hits. Dale Thomas had a career day today here, so, a lot of really good things, just keep the momentum going and keep everybody healthy.
And you mentioned the environment, just to look up and see, this place packed out. And obviously the first time that you've been able to host Clemson since 2019, rather. Just when you look up and you see the atmosphere, just how grateful were you for everybody showing out today?
Oh, it was great. We had a great crowd, Teal Nation. There were a lot of people there. It was a cool environment to see, and our kids, I think that's part of the reason you see such tremendous focus too. When you get crowds like that, it makes you want to really play, makes you really get into it emotionally, and we put some energy into that game.
Yeah, Coach. You only got 3 games left in the regular season. You are really excited about the momentum that you're possibly taking into the postseason after this weekend.
Yeah, we dug a really deep hole for ourselves early. We just couldn't find any consistency, and we had some guys banged up. And since we got everybody healthy and kind of figured out some roles and guys bought into what we were trying to do, we've started to play really well, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Coach, this program obviously doesn't need to validate itself. It has already done that over the years, but to take 2 straight from Clemson, what does that say about this year's team in particular?
Well, we haven't done that very often. That's an incredibly proud and great program over there. They got a very good team. Their RPI's, a good bit better than ours, and so, to get a win, one win against them, period, is a lot. To be able to get 2 is very special. And like I said, it doesn't happen very often. And, I wish them luck. They have it's kind of like they've been bit by the bug. We were bit by it last year, where inside our league, we didn't play great. but yet outside our league, we did play great, and, for them, heck, man, they've got incredible wins over great programs that are, high RPI, nationally ranked teams, whatever, just in their league, man. It's just a dogfight in that league. You look up and, Clemson and Georgia Tech are in the spots that they're in. You just shake your head. It's such a dog-eat-dog league. It's tough to gain ground in that.
All right, Gary Gilmore, following the win last night over Clemson, let me give you a few quick recruiting notes that I did not have earlier because they have just appeared in front of me. USC handing out more offers today. Running back Christopher Johnson, 5'11", 182 of Fort Lauderdale, former Rutgers commitment. And the Gamecocks offered in the 2026 class, defensive end Bryce Perry Wright, 6'3", 240, Buford, Georgia. They are his first offer. Gamecocks also offered 2024 athlete B.J. Gibson, Rochelle, Georgia. He's also a major baseball prospect and is committed to Tennessee in that sport. Final quick thoughts, Mr. Bergen?
No, good stuff. Looking forward to the big weekend of baseball. So you guys have fun with Major Downer, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Well, you stay tuned so you can learn about boating and the new laws in South Carolina. We don't want you hitting anybody on the water.
I need a boat first.
Oh, okay. We'll figure that out, too. We've got SC Wild with the Major coming up after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear and muggy this evening, a low dipping to 62. Tomorrow, the hottest day of the week with sunshine, higher humidity, and a high temp topping out at 98. No relief on Friday with the same conditions. And 97 as a high. We'll see rain chances increase to 40% on Saturday and Sunday. Looking ahead cooler next week with highs in the 80s. Brian Leonard with you on Point Local Weather.
Attention pizza lovers. The Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers in Columbia and Lexington have officially been named
the best pizza places in the universe.
Maybe it's the out-of-this-world ambiance, or the universally appealing hand-tossed spring water dough pizza, fresh salads and hoagies, or maybe it's the cosmos of craft beer. Either way, Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington are officially
the best pizza places in the universe.
Official Best Pizza in the Universe designation from an official-looking guy who tried our pizza and said that.
How many servings of fruits and vegetables do you have in your fridge right now? If you're like most people, the answer is simply not enough. But who can? It is difficult to keep your family stocked up with the recommended amounts of fruits and vegetables every day without a daily trip to the grocery store. If only there was a way to get all the recommended fruits and vegetables into your diet. Balance of Nature is the easiest way to do just that. Balance of Nature utilizes years of scientific research to give you the most efficient way to eat your fruits and vegetables on a daily basis. We source fruits and vegetables that meet our rigorous standards of quality and quickly put them through an advanced cold, dark drying process, locking in the dense nutrient content. This food is then ground up and placed into capsules for you to take at your convenience. Make eating healthy easy by going online to balanceofnature.com or by calling 1-800-246-8751. And be sure to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code BALANCE.
When it comes to firearms, ammunition, and accessories, some things are changing. Well, fortunately, some things haven't changed a bit. I'm talking all about Shooter's Choice in West Columbia. What has never and will never change is the customer service. Top notch with the staff that has decades of experience in the firearms industry. This staff actually hunts and shoots regularly. For over 30 years, Shooter's Choice has never lost that hometown feel and never felt like shopping at some big box store. What has changed? Well, technology. If you'd rather spend your money on firearms than gas, go online to shooterschoicesc.com and check out a great website that's easy to navigate 24/7. Be the first to get items as they are received at the store. Be the first to get that newest production model ordered before it even enters the retail store. Come pick it up at your convenience. Sign up for notifications of new products and special inventory. It's all at shooterschoicesc.com. So come on in and see the team at Shooter's Choice, 944 Sunset Boulevard, or visit online. Either way, you'll see what I'm talking about. Make your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Aiken-Cochran. As Miss America, I know that taking care of yourself is important. Part of taking care of your health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is serious and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. 90% of South Carolinians who have it don't know they have it. Visit inittogethersc.org. Take an online test to find out your risk and join a diabetes prevention program. Brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina.
You've seen the news. You've talked to your friends. You may have even looked around yourself. Home prices are nuts. Seems like no one is offering any kind of discount, except Lexington Discount Homes. Discount is their middle name. Quality homes that fit your budget with the size, model, and floor plan that your family needs. You can still afford your dream home at Lexington Discount Homes. Augusta Highway near Ballpark Road, 803-951-1900 or LexingtonDiscountHomes.com.
Hi, honey. I am so excited about finally taking our vacation out of the country.
Me too. We've waited 2 years for this.
But we still have plenty to do before we leave for our trip.
You're right. The travel agent said we have to have negative COVID tests.
Lucky for us, we have True Pharmacy. They can take care of all of our COVID needs.
They do travel testing too?
Yes. Isn't it great to know we have such a great pharmacy to take care of us?
True Pharmacy, 2 locations, Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Divine Street in Columbia.
A well-regulated humidor being necessary to the preservation of a cigar, the right of the people to keep and enjoy cigars shall not be infringed. For those who love a great cigar and want to spend time with others who are like-minded, the Cigar Militia offers the experience you're looking for. We're located in the Colonial Village next to the Melting Pot. The Cigar Militia offers exceptional cigars from around the world, staff to assist you in your selections, private cigar lockers, and a lounge where members can relax and enjoy.
Now on Sports Talk, it's SC Wild with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer is here to take your questions about the great outdoors in South Carolina. Give him a call at 888-898-2525. It's SC Wild from DNR on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
And our pleasure to welcome into Sports Talk and SC Wild on this beautiful, hot Wednesday afternoon in South Carolina, the Major Billy Downer from the Department of Natural Resources. Good evening, Major. How are you, sir?
Very hot as you are, Billy. It's absolutely sweltering out here now.
Yeah, absolutely it
hot.
is. Yeah, but you know what? It's South Carolina. It was coming. We knew it was coming. It's here, but it's not here to stay, right? I think we kind of cool off a little bit next week.
Let's hope so. Yes. Let's hope for a little cooler weather. But sure enough, it is hot, and folks are going to be out in the water. So tonight we're going to talk about boating regulations for a minute. One of the new changes in legislation that has been enacted that will be enforced this year. We'll have a little bit of a grace period, but we want to talk about that, and that's the basically the 50-foot rule, as most people know it as, from docks. In the past, years, probably 20 years, it's been 50 foot from a dock. If you're within 50 feet of a dock, wharf, bridge, person in the water, you had to be at idle speed. Now, an idle speed, of course, is the slowest speed a boat can go and maintain steerage. That's what idle speed is defined as. The slowest speed and maintain steerage. Typically in a boat, that's taking that throttle and clicking it forward just into gear. And that's going to be idle speed. You don't want to see any white or any froth behind a boat, or certainly no wake. So the no wake zone, as you hear us talk about that also. But that has changed to 100 feet for most lakes on the lake. Want to go through a list of those. So in South Carolina, vessels may not be operated while upon the waters of Lake Greenwood, Lake Hartwell, Lake Jocassee, Lake Kiowee, Lake Marion, Lake Monticello, Lake Murray, Lake Robinson, Lake Russell, Lake Succession, Lake Thurman, Lake Wateree, Fishing Creek Reservoir, Parr Reservoir, or the portion of the Savannah River from the Interstate 20 Savannah River Bridge to the new Savannah River Bluff Lock and Dam in excess of idle speed within 100 feet of an anchored vessel, wharf, pier, dock, or a person in the water. So that's a bunch of different lakes, I know. Main thing, it does not affect those on Lake Moultrie. That was how the law was passed. Lake Moultrie was excluded from that. So Lake Moultrie will remain at 50 feet. The rest of the lakes in the state are at 100 feet. So if you're 100 feet from an anchored vessel, a dock, you need to be, or a person in the water, you're going to need to be at idle speed. Again, that's so you can control and slow down and be safe within, that distance of a dock or someone else, plus the wakes. We just saw that the last 20 years we've seen such an increase in boating traffic across this state, and boats that are heavier. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. Boats that are designed, we've talked about this before, I feel the boats that are designed to make a wake, or the wake boats that are designed to ski behind or basically surf behind. They create such a large wake that we had to start looking at that. So the distance was moved across the state to 100 feet from a dock, from a person in the water, an anchored vessel, to make sure that people are at idle speed within that distance to prevent people from getting hurt, from damage caused to docks or personal watercraft or other boats tied up to personal docks. That was happening a lot, and so they felt like we needed to change that law and push it out to 100 feet. Interestingly enough, back in 99, 2000, we passed that law. They were trying for 100 feet back then, and we went to 50. So now, just over time, we've seen the need to go to 100 feet. So that's the law there.
Why was Moultrie excluded?
So Moultrie was excluded from legislative-wise. He was not included in the law.
I mean, like why?
So just wasn't listed.
Hmm.
Yeah, wasn't listed. This was something that was put in place by some other folks, some interested parties put in this. This wasn't actually something DNR sponsored. It was something. A lot of times, there's a lot of legislation that we don't necessarily create, but we support. Does that make sense? So
Absolutely.
There's legislation that comes from interested parties on these lakes. There's a lot of noise of the upstate from some of the Lake Hartwell, Lake Kiwi, having a tremendous problem with wakes. And so the legislators are pushing, to answer that complaint, to answer the needs of the constituents, to increase that safety distance. And DNR was all for that, because we're always going to be in support of anything that makes the lake safer. And a 100-foot rule from 50 foot, absolutely, we could see that make it safer. So we were in support of that. In addition to that, it just seems like, boats are bigger today. We've talked about that. But when I started, pontoon had a 75 on it. Then you start to see a 150, maybe a 125, 100, 110, 120. Now they've got 300s and 400s on them. They're unreal. So boats are bigger, motors are bigger, and we're creating more wakes. And there's more people on the lakes. We've talked about that numerous times. How many people like to enjoy the waterways in South Carolina. And that increased traffic causes damage to the shoreline and to folks' docks and to boats tied up on docks. So you got to kind of back off those docks a little bit. You'd think that people would use common sense to back off those docks, but a lot of times we have to enact a law to enforce, good boating discipline, basically.
Let me ask you this. I mean, there might be a common sense answer to this question. By the way, our phone number, if you have a question, comment, reaction to what the Major's talking about tonight, 888-898-2525. Get you right into Major Billy Downer talking about new laws on the lakes and safety for the boating. What can make a wake dangerous?
So, wakes, again, wakes are created when boats push through the water. It's a physics deal. For every action is equal and opposite reaction. When a boat cuts through the water, it creates a wave. Just like throwing a pebble on the water, it creates that wave. So typically there's a point when you're accelerating a boat, there's a kind of a point where that boat gets really low in the water before it picks back up. When you're pushing down that throttle, that boat kind of bogs down and it really pushes a wave out. And then you push up the speed and it gets up and the wave dissipates. But even at high speeds, though, there's a wake problem there, even at high speed. So it depends on, each boat's a little different, and how much they draft. In other words, how much water do they displace when how deep does a boat sit in the water, all affects how much wake it creates. That creates the resistance against the water. So that it's not a dumb question, Phil. It's actually, one that people don't understand. They go out and buy boats and they don't know, each boat's a little different. Every boat doesn't create the same wake. And so you have to learn the speed that your boat can operate to meet the no wake requirement. Typically, no wake zones are in areas where there's lots of people, where there's high boating traffic, like in and out of the landing, gassing facilities where you're trying to refuel boats, restaurants, things like that, or very constricted space. And we try to look at those, constantly to determine what the needs are for each lake and waterway. But in excess of that, again, within 100 feet of a shoreline of that dock, or a boat, that was a change. Now is you have to be at idle speed. Again, idle speed is not creating a wake. So let's talk about wakes for a minute. Wake boats. The difference in a wake boat is it is designed to create a large wake. They have ballasts in the boat that literally take on water, and the boat pumps water into a chamber, which creates a weight in the rear of the boat, pushes the back of the boat down, and makes this huge wave, which is great if you're wanting to surf, or if you're wanting to knee board, or all the various types of. There's so many different types of things out there to ride on the waves now. It's not for riding a tube now. It's for skiing, doing tricks, knee boarding, surfing. And when I say surfing, you can actually take a surfboard, step off the back of the boat onto a surfboard, and surf without a rope. It creates that big a wake. And it's become quite popular. Those boats are very expensive, very nice, got a lot of power. They have nice stereo systems. They blast music, so people complain about that too. But they've become so popular, particularly and I don't know why, whether it's Clemson or just college, Hartwell, Kiwi, it's gotten real popular on upstate lakes. It is also popular here on Lake Murray and other lakes you may know of, but really up there, really popular is deep lakes. Folks are really liking the wake boats. It's gotten popular to do the wake surfing. And again, so when you're creating this big wave, and I say a big wave, I'm talking about 5-10 foot, literally. I mean, it can be a 5-foot wave easy behind these boats, from the bottom to the top. That wave takes so much longer to dissipate. So you could literally be, out 150 feet, and that wave is going to be pretty large when it reaches your dock. So in this law also, they passed it that you must be 200 feet away from a moored vessel, wharf, dock, bulkhead, pier, or person in the water if you are wake surfing. The definition of wake surfing means to operate a vessel that is ballasted in the stern so as to create a wake that is, or is intended to be, surfed by another person. So let's clarify that for a minute. So what that's saying is wake surfing is defined as operating a vessel that is ballasted. That's that ability to hold water in compartments in the back of the boat. It's just in the stern, that's the rear, to create a wake that is or is intended to be surfed by another person. So the point for me breaking that wording down is this. If you are wake surfing, in the act of wake surfing with somebody actively on a surfboard or surfing behind one of these boats or skiing behind one of these boats, when it has got a ballast full of water and it is creating a large wake, you have got to be outside of 200 feet. Now, if everybody's in the boat, we still got the ballast full of water, you still got to be outside of 200 feet because that boat is ballasted and intended to create a large wake. If that boat, they pump the water out and it's a normal boat and normal draft, then you can get inside of 200 feet. But that boat, if it's full of water, doesn't matter if you're pulling somebody or not, if it's basically at the point where it could be surfed behind because of the wake it's creating, you have to be outside of 200 feet of a dock. And honestly, 200 feet is pretty liberal, but that wake's still big, honestly. But that's the law now, is 200 feet.
How is this going to be enforced by DNR agents around the state?
That's a great question. So when we have changes like this, what we typically do is we have what we call a grace period. And what our officers will do, we'll warn folks. They'll try to educate people. It's a period of education. So we will stop boats when we see them doing something wrong initially. We're going to try to educate them, let them know what the law is. Hey, did you know the law's changed? This is what the rule is. They may get a warning ticket where they're written a warning. Hey, we're letting you know. Now, we give a grace period. We try to do what we can to help the public understand, because everybody doesn't, hear the news. We know that. They get out on the boats. We're trying to give them a grace period. But eventually this law is going to be enforced. It's going to be this year. And as folks get out there and you've been warned once or twice, you expect to get a ticket for it if you keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Ticket would run how much? Ticket would run how much?
Tickets on this start at probably at least $150 and go up from there.
Hey.
Yeah, yeah. So tickets have gotten it more, and people get upset about tickets, how expensive they are. But what they don't understand is our ticket fees. We have nothing to do. The fine may be $50, and a $50 fine ends up being $170 on a ticket because of court fees, assessments, Victims Advocate Fund, things that all that money goes into. $25 fine is $110.
What do you think is DNR's record? Let's just say you give somebody a ticket, but they want to fight it. What do you? I mean, like, is it like the Highway Patrol? You just go to like regular magistrate's court and fight it out there.
All of our court is done in magistrate's level court for the most part, except for some of our more serious offenses like night hunting. But magistrate's court is where your boating violations are taken, and it's just like you're going to traffic court. It's the same court.
Mm-hmm.
We're in there we're in there all the time with troopers, deputies, whatever, city police, all hearing our cases. Sometimes now, typically we have a day that the judges want to hear our cases. So as always, in this great country we live in, you got the opportunity to go state your case before the judge, and you can give your explanation. The officer will give his side of the story, and the judge will make a determination and move on from there.
Let me ask you this.
So you're kind of asking, do we always get a guilty verdict? No, we don't always get a guilty verdict.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of reasons why you may not. But I would hope, as I did, when we make a case, we're making it in good faith, doing the right thing, trying to enforce the law and uphold safety on the waterway, because that's what folks want. They want to be able to go out in the water and have a safe day. And the unfortunate result of breaking a rule on the water is you may end up with a ticket or a fine, which is meant to hopefully teach you a lesson to remember not to do that again.
Now, I can speak from experience here, but you get a traffic citation, you show up in court, and oftentimes you can meet with the officer before it gets to the judge, and y'all can kind of like negotiate it down, cut the points, maybe cut the fine, whatever, and sign off and walk away. Does that happen with the DNR side of things?
There's always that opportunity to talk to an officer, yes.
Okay.
And talk about, that happens, yes. But there is a minimum fine, though, that we cannot go below. And so that's that kind of that break point. And the judge can do what he wants to do. And the judge always has a leniency there. And every county is a little different on that, how the judges run their court. But typically your fines, again, run from $110 to $170 and then on up to $425.
Right.
Or even $1,000. It depends.
Well, let's just cut it off right there with that. We got some people with some questions or comments for you. They probably have had to pay a ticket. I'm just guessing here. So stand by. Let's go to Tom in Sumter. Tom, welcome in. You're on SCY with Major Billy Downer.
Thank you. I do some crabbing in the marsh in North Myrtle Beach, and I had a nephew give me a John boat that's just been in his yard for probably 15, 20 years that I want to get out on the water legally, but there's no real paperwork. It's just been in his yard. What's the protocol I would need to go through if I've got like this boat that's just been sitting in his yard forever, but there's no paper tracing it back to when, it was on the water before? What do I need to do?
Right. All right. So this is a very common question. It's a great question, Tom. Let me go through it. So let me ask you a couple questions. Your John boat, does it have numbers on the front, like a registration numbers on it?
No, sir.
It doesn't have a registration. It has nothing. It's just plain.
Yes, sir.
So you could be lucky enough to have a boat that's never been registered before. That's going to make it easier On the back of that boat, on the stern, on the back, on the transom, there's going to be a number. It's like a serial number. That's your whole ID number. You're going to need to take a picture of that and bring that with you with some paper. You can print. So you print your boat and paperwork out online.
Okay.
You can print it. You go to boating. Go to scdnr.fc.gov.
Yes, sir.
dnr.fc.gov. Go to the boating page icon. You'll see boat tying registration. There's going to be a print. The first option is print page 1, which is going to be your registration paperwork. So you put your name out, and if it's never been registered and you're the first to register it, it makes it easier. Typically with older boats, sometimes though, there's always something that comes up that nobody knew that this boat actually did get registered and nobody knew it. But the only way to find out is to run that whole ID number. Take a picture of that whole ID number, bring it to our boating office, the titling division there. Don't know if you're in Sumter, the closest place. You can either go to Florence or you can go to Columbia. I would suggest probably going to Columbia to the farmers market. Bring the picture of that whole ID number, and they can run that and check and make sure it hadn't been registered before.
I've been to Florence. They're pretty efficient down there. I think I'll go down there.
Yes,
but
take a picture. Remember, take a picture of the rear of that boat with the whole ID number. If you can't find the whole ID number, you'll give us a call back. We'll try to help you through that. But it's typically on the right rear side of the boat. It's on that transom.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Start with that. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Let's go to stay on the phones here with the Major, Billy Downer, SC Wild on Sports Talk. Bobby in Newberry, welcome in. How are you?
Hey, Phil. Hey, Major. How are y'all doing tonight?
How are you doing, Bobby? What's your question tonight?
Doing great. Appreciate everything you guys do. My question is, you're talking about boats, and we have a place up on Lake Greenwood, which was included in your scenario you said earlier. Where does personal watercraft and jet skis fall into that 100-foot weight rule?
Same thing. They have to, all boats, that would be them. So personal watercraft are included in that. They are going to now need to be 100 feet away from a dock, person in the water, boat at anchor, unless they're at idle speed.
They have to be at idle, correct?
Yes, they're within 100 feet. If they're within 100 feet, you need to be at idle. So, remember, going to be an educational period. Try to teach people that, but eventually we're going to start enforcing that. But, yes.
There you go. There you go. But I appreciate that because I'm sure, and that may be something you want to, express a little bit more, that personal watercraft and jet skis are included as a boat in this 100-foot weight rule.
Any boat now. So, basically, any boat under power now has got to be at 100 feet. If they're outside, if they're above idle speed. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Phil.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate that phone call. So, was this generated? We got about a minute, Major, maybe 90 seconds. Yep. All of this, was it generated by homeowners who were tired of boats? Okay, go tell us about that.
Absolutely. So, the way our laws work in this state, the legislature writes the laws, we enforce the laws. We have input in that process a lot of times. We have a pretty good relationship with our legislature from a law enforcement perspective, and they're very supportive of the mission we do. But just like in the case of this law, the boating safety laws going through that may pass it, it's constituent driven. Folks, see a problem, they talk to their legislator. Legislator, listens to their problem, creates a bill that's presented, and then we get a chance to look at it again. In this case, it was obvious this was a good idea to increase safety on our waterways, and so it just passes through. And it took 2 years to get through. Typically, it can take that long. Different questions get risen, and there's the process that it goes through. But that law was signed by the governor this year, and it will go into effect. It goes into effect now, so we'll be looking at that new law this year again across the state, 100 feet. From a dock, person in the water, boat at anchor, on most all lakes in the state except for Lake Moultrie.
Great stuff, Major. Great stuff. Great information. Hope people learned about it. And we will look forward to getting back with you in a couple of weeks and dive into more important issues about the great outdoors, boating, hunting, and fishing around the state of South Carolina. Look forward to being back with you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, Major. Thank you very much. Major Billy Downer, from the Department of Natural Resources, SC Wild, here on Sports Talk. Pat, did you learn something from that? Because I know you are a big you're big on skis and jet skis and things like that, aren't you?
I am. I've been on the water my whole life. I'm a licensed captain and just very much so am a proponent of boater safety. So I always learn something new with the major and just really appreciate him being on the program with us. Lot of great information there. And it's nice that we had some engagement with some callers tonight too.
You're a boat captain?
I am. We haven't talked about that.
Should we start calling you captain?
Oh, captain, my captain. Well, I ran a boat rental company up in Massachusetts for 6 years, and I learned very quickly that a lot of folks don't know how to operate a boat.
Duh.
And they would appreciate hiring somebody else to do it for them. And so I saw that as an opportunity to make a few bucks and figured it was worth it, and wasn't that tough. Yeah.
Great stuff for Major Downer. He is the best in the business. We appreciate him being with us. Hopefully you learn. I tell you what, since we have been doing this series with him going back several years, I've learned so much about the outdoors. Number one is never put your hand around an alligator or you'll come back handless, armless, or even worse. Just one of the many lessons. All right, that'll do it. Have a great night. Look forward to Thursday here on Sports Talk. We'll have another big one for you.